Check, check, check. Audio working? You never can be too sure with this thing.
Check, check, check. Audio working?
Excellent. Confirm there, and real quick here.
Sure. Excellent. Confirm there, and real quick here.
Excellent. Okay, meeting this. Excellent. All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ross Shabilsky. I am the founder of D20 Studios. We are an indie development studio based here in Salt Lake City, Utah, working on our second game. It is called Summoner's Fate. It's a combination turn-based strategy and deck builder game. And you can check it out on our website here, summonersfate.com. We currently have our pre-release available officially, so if you want to play the game before its release and join us in our community-driven development, you can pick it up here. It's available on all of our target platforms, PC, Mac, Android, iOS. Plays cross-platform on all of them. You see we've been around, won some awards. Just love to show this off. Worked hard on this website, so just give everyone a quick preview of it. But you can see from the view here, it's top-down, very optimal for planning your strategy and tactics. The game was designed to give you a true-to-life board game feel. So if you played miniature-based RPGs before, played card games before, it's going to feel very tactile and familiar, like as if you were moving your own little miniatures on the table in this world. Some of our core features here. Really, this game is about taking the best elements of turn-based strategy, RPGs, CCGs, and combine them together in a really fun, unique way that makes it very accessible, easy to pick up and learn the mechanics, but with endless possibilities to express yourself creatively. I like to talk about this game as one whose motivation is for the player to win in the most creative ways possible. It's not enough just to play to win, it's about winning in a way that expresses your own unique strategy, whether that's summoning hordes of skeletons or throwing squirrels at your enemies and mutating them to armies of Hulk squirrels. This game's got all kinds of possibilities. Over 400 cards planned for launch. We are just about halfway there with almost 200 cards in the game now, and we're developing new cards together each week here on the stream. Okay, so today's episode is going to be featuring design of the summoner characters. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what summoners are, because for those who aren't familiar with the game yet, this may be a new concept. But after all, it's called Summoner's Fate, right? So you would think there's some kind of a summoner in here, right? So we're going to go ahead and fire up the game, and I'm going to talk a little bit about summoners and why they're so integral to the game, what they are, and so forth. So to give some background, Summoner's Fate is the successor to our first game called Hero Mages. And the idea of the summoner really came from Hero Mages. And the idea was that it's a character that represents you on the board as the primary spellcaster who's playing all these cards to create awesome things happening, like summoning characters, weapons, casting fireballs, etc. We changed the name. They used to be called Hero Mages, and I'm not really sure why we changed the name. I just felt like it needed some new, fresh life. To this day, I still wonder, I should have just called the game Hero Mages 2, maybe, but I digress. It's called Summoner's Fate now, and we like summoners because I felt like maybe it was more understandable what a summoner is versus a mage to some people. So we're going to go into here. This is our deck builder, and I'm going to kind of show you what it looks like to build a deck. I've reached the maximum number of decks. Let's delete this one so I can kind of show you the process. This is just a test one I had in to test memory and things like that. Okay, so we're going to go and make a new deck. All right, and so this is where we are introduced to summoners. All right. Now, of course, in the game, there's going to be a lot more process of this story and single-player adventures, which I'll be working on in the next few months here, now that I've got the core functionalities of the deck builder complete. But let's talk about what a summoner actually is. So a summoner is a character within the game world who has the ability to see the worlds beyond worlds. If you think about the world of Summoner's Fate as like this interdimensional plane, right? And your device, whether it be a PC, a tablet, a phone, is your looking glass into that world. And these characters all believe in the idea of fate, and that there is some force that guides them in their path to achieving their destiny. That is you, the player. And summoners are characters who are especially attuned to that presence. And that's why all the characters in the game look up to you, because they're literally seeing you and asking for your guidance to order them. And the summoners in particular have attunement to the energies, the magical forces of the world, which are represented as aspects of the universe's creation. Starting with the emptiness of the void, giving birth to chaos, and then giving rise to divine consciousness, the metaphysics of the universe, and ultimately nature. That's the magics you see represented here. And so currently in our game, each summoner or character of this type has the ability to command 2 of those aspects of magic, as well as the free will magic, which are neutral cards. And so you can see here that it's the very first step in building a deck is to choose one of these characters. And when I do, it's going to affect the rest of my deck building choices. So if I take the Lich King here, who is a void character with the ability to also cast arcane magic, it's going to constrain my choices for who I can pick as far as my guardians. I'm going to turn this off so I can see the other choices. Boop. Okay. And so now you can see here that I can now pick amongst several different starting characters that are either void, arcane, or free will. And we'll do another one here. We'll pick Lee the Pyromancer, who commands, she's a chaos unit that also commands celestial. And you're going to see here that she can choose chaos units and celestial units as her guardians, as well as for her spell choices here, which are the different cards you can put into your deck. All right? So summoners are a incredibly integral part of the game. They are your main character. They're also the reference point, so you can move them on the board, you can attack with them. They also control your line of sight for where you're casting spells. So if your summoner can't see an area, you can't cast a spell there generally. And so they are a very important character in the game, and hence why they are one of the most difficult characters to design, because they have such huge implications on the entire process of building your deck and expressing your creative strategies within the game. Currently the game has 6 summoners in there. I've got one of each type, and then an extra arcane one. Koro was the new one that we had added in the previous update. And so and some of these characters are from Hero Mages. The Fighter Mage is a returning character from Hero Mages. The Archmage is very similar to the Wizard in terms of his abilities, but he's kind of also a unique character and has some new abilities of his own. And then we've got new characters like the Lich King, the Druid. Lee is similar to the Sorceress, but also, again, a little bit different in her powers. So we're going to be designing some of these new summoners today. And as well, we're going to attempt to do another over-the-air content update. And this time, now that I've got the fixes in place, I expect it will work. And you'll be able to play with these new characters if you've got access to the pre-release immediately during the stream and not have to wait for another game client update. It should be very, very exciting. I'm just going to take a moment to glance over the chat here and say hello to everyone on the stream. Thank you, Imsar Corella, for joining us again today. And thank you, other viewers listening in. We got some questions. It's like Dungeons & Dragons in terms of fantasy. Yes, it is. There's definitely a lot of inspiration from Dungeons & Dragons here. I played that game growing up. Particularly, I love the old DOS-based computer games like the Dark Sun series, Wake of the Ravager was absolutely one of my favorites. And you're going to see some characters here that may spark some inspiration if you're familiar with those games. Are we making a Void Divine Summoner today? Perhaps, yes. We shall see. And Hero Mages 2 doesn't sound right. Okay, weird too. 2 Void Arcane Summoners. Korra can be an arcane nature. Interesting. Okay, she's a Void, by the way, because of her cold powers, and there's a little bit of backstory to her. The Void has, in addition to Arcane, a lot of the ice-driven spells, and that's why she uses Void, but it also goes with her theme of the cold-hearted. Her backstory is that she... a lot of the casters in our world are sort of born with these powers. They awaken to them and don't quite understand them, and she was kind of outcast from her society and then taken in and raised by bandits. So she's got a bit of a mean streak in that sense. She's kind of out for vengeance, and hence her dual nature of Arcane Void. Okay, so I'm going to back out of the game now. I'm going to look at today's agenda. Let's get out of here. Exit without saving. Yes. Okay. Boom, and get me out of here. Okay. So if you guys want to follow along with us here and view some of the cards we've got planned, just go to summonersfate.com and we go to our forums. And then under the events section here, you're going to see the most recent post by me is Developer Ross. Oh, I forgot to change this to episode 8. Oh, that's silly. Well, it's episode 8. This is the 8th stream I've done, so I'm excited to also be hitting 8 streams today. And what I've got here is a listing of some of the design concepts that I prepared. The ideas for these summers have sort of been stewing in my mind for some time, but I've been hesitant to implement them just because, again, the very heavy design implications associated with them. And so some of these are, pretty well put together. Some of them are still rough concepts, and some of them don't have any powers listed at all. As you can see here, he's still coming soon. I don't quite know what they're going to be yet, so I didn't try to guess. I just sort of left it there open. And similar to what we've done in all these streams here, I like to consider this a collaboration of myself as the game designer and our community of players as both contributing in what we call at D20 Studios community-driven design, where we actually partner together, collaborate, brainstorm, share ideas, and shape the game in a way that's going to be the most fun and enjoyable for everyone. And also gives everyone a chance to kind of have their mark on the game, which I really enjoy. And so let's look at some of these characters here. So we've got Click Click the Impaler. Let's start with him. He is our insectoid-based character. For those who don't know, I have quite a fondness for insects, in particular praying mantis. They are my absolute favorite bug ever since I was a kid. And this character here, I wanted him to be a summoner, and I also wanted him to be something special. And I had been wrestling for a long time with what his power could be. And praying mantises are known to be natural predators. They kind of sit in the shadows waiting. And I had given him this like hook thing, and I thought back to the Gladiator, which is one of my favorite characters currently in the game that has this ability to throw a harpoon and pull people toward him. And I thought, man, that's such a cool power. Why shouldn't one of the summoners have it? And why shouldn't, of all characters, my favorite bug character have this ability? Because I just thought, hey, that would be awesome, right? One of our other players in the community, Tom Larkworthy, is also a huge fan of the Gladiator, and I thought, hey, you know what? He would probably love to have another Gladiator, particularly a Gladiator summoner who's a bug and can also cast all the same spells as the fighter mage. So yeah, that's kind of where I kind of came to this conclusion with him. In addition, he's got the flying ability because insects fly, and it may not look like it, but yeah, he's going to fly, and it's going to be quite freaky when he does. If you've never seen a praying mantis before, you should seriously go look him up on YouTube right now because they are just a fascinating insect creature. So that's one of the ones we'll be doing today. We got the Rugged Mage, which is kind of our take on like a modern wizard that kind of has this rugged look to him, got a little bit of man bun going on and beard and all that. And this guy, combination of nature and arcane, his power is that he can move and shoot, but I wanted to give him like sort of like this gravity shaker, earth shaker spell where he's knocking people back, and then also leveraging his like nature-based thing, so he like kind of has vines or whatnot root you in place after he knocks you back, so you can't come back after him. Kind of an interesting power. The Botanical Sage is one kind of inspired by like the poison ivy idea. She was meant to be sort of like a little bit, a protector of nature, but also kind of has like draws from the void energies as well. And her whole thing is to leverage plants. So we've got a druid character right now that's very focused on animals and summoning squirrels and buffing them into mutant squirrels. And this character focuses on the plant-based aspects of nature. And so we thought it'd be fun to have her use plants in some way. Right now the power is just listed as draw a random plant. But there's a lot of really powerful plants in the game, like cactuses and brambles that can cause spike damage when knocked into, or poisonous spore pods. And so I thought it'd be fun if she could summon plants and then also use different cards to sort of draw energies and other cascading powers from them. So that's Botanical Sage. All right, we've got Sibylla. She is a character returning from Hero Mages, who in Hero Mages was instantly called the Summoner. I thought or not really appropriate to call her a summoner anymore because everybody's a summoner. So she's a conjurer now. She conjures things. But her power in Hero Mages was that she granted considerable buffs to all the other units. Hero Mages was also restricted in usually only having one summon out at a time. We don't have any restrictions on summons in Summoner's Fate, so she's going to just grant her ally boost. So all of her creatures and allies get a bonus strength to them, which makes her really great, especially for summoning 1/1 creatures like skeletons, because they'll all have a natural buff attached to them. Should be a lot of fun. And then her other power was that she is kind of a necromancer at heart, and she can sacrifice her characters to heal herself, which is another carryover power from Hero Mages. All right, so then we've got our snake summoner, the Deceiver, and this is another one where I thought, man, I'm overthinking it too hard to try and create new powers. And there's another character I absolutely love in our game called the Scientist that has the ability to mind control, and similar to the Mantis with his power to kind of recycle the Gladiator's ability, I thought, what's more appropriate for a snake than having this kind of hypnotic power, right? Because there's always this idea that snakes kind of have this hypnotic gaze, and I thought, the Deceiver was kind of the name I just decided based off of the appearance of how the character turned out after the art concepts, and I thought, yeah, why not have her be like a psychic snake character that could hypnotize enemies and take control of them? So that's her ability, at least this plan. And then Dark Elf Sorcerer. We love the idea of having the Dark Elves in our game. All of our Dark Elves have horns. It's kind of like their signature thing. And I have not decided his power yet, but sort of he's been a combination of Void and Celestial because right now I think there's 20 summoners planned for the game, which is every combination of 2 powers with 2 variations for each combo. So there'll also be a complementary Celestial Void character that will be a Celestial border, but have not decided his powers yet. I've got some cool ideas I've heard from some of the players. I just haven't quite decided yet what his final power will be. So if you've got ideas, feel free to shout them out, and I'll take those into consideration, and we'll think about how we can integrate those. Okay, so moving along here, we've got Dork Slayer. This is one of the very first characters that we showed the community probably a couple years ago when we first came out on social media, and we actually left this up to the players to decide his name. We had all kinds of awesome ideas for the Orc Chief's name, but the one that won the community popularity was Dork Slayer, which is just awesome. So I haven't had any super cool creative ideas for his powers. I just sort of had him as he was one of our initial test characters when I was doing the really, really early betas, and he had knockback. He's got the Orc Warhammer, and he was one of the first characters to have knockback. And so what I kind of decided here was that maybe his power is that he's just really, really tough and resilient. He doesn't necessarily need to have powers because he's all about just giving the beat down. So at a power level of 5, he is by far the most strong, or the most powerful of the summoners. And then we've got another character, the Fighter Mage, that has 25 health. Most of them all have 20. But I thought, maybe the Orc should be a little tougher. He just can take the blows like nobody else. And so 28 seemed like a number we could try. So that's kind of where he came from. And then get out of here, notifications. Remind me tomorrow. All right, the Dreadnought Warlock. So the Dreadnoughts are like our very heavily armored, they've been, made a pact with the demons to gain super strength kind of a character. And the Warlock is the summoner of this faction. They're kind of like even more powerful, twisted version of our Marauder class of characters with just really heavy armor and nasty abilities that represent the dark powers of chaos magic. Chaos, by the way, in our game is not inherently an evil thing. I should probably give some context. A lot of games will use chaos as like just pure evil and destruction, but it actually represents, as I said before, an aspect of creationism, which if you're familiar with philosophy or creationism, chaos is actually the essential force that is from which all things are said to have been born. It's pure energy, pure potential. It's not necessarily good or bad. It just has the ability to kind of eventually create any kind of possibility. But it's just so random in its structure. It doesn't have any sense of time or place. And so just generally in our game, it's associated with like pure passion and generally destructive abilities because of its chaotic nature, I guess. It's hard to control. But the Dreadnoughts are characters that embrace that darker side, that would use it for evil purposes or sinister purposes. Again, he doesn't have any specific power yet. I was just sort of experimenting with the idea that he was a really strong melee character. He is the first summoner we have introduced that has the block ability, so having a shield. And I thought, that could be a really interesting advantage, having a summoner innately imbued with a shield. But I could see him still having another power of some kind, because I don't know that this is maybe enough of a power, seeing as like the Lich King has a pierce and go right through his armor and shield. So he may need some additional ability that we can discuss. Okay, so moving along, we have Antares, our battle mage, and he's a character you've seen on our website on our key art. We kind of wanted a character that would represent like who would be a really good flagship character, and then I never necessarily knew what to do with him, so I've been sort of thinking about that. But he's a combination of the Chaos and Arcane. And Arcane is all about manipulation of physics. And so what we decided to do with him was give him knockback to all of his damage spells so that he could basically be like a gravity-based destructor force that could just get into combat. He's got a special shield that he can block with, which is his spell book. And we're going to talk about that because I have some ideas that maybe he can also use the spell book to block magical attacks as well, which would be kind of interesting. But I love the idea of giving him the ability to use any of the damage spells as a gravity spell, because it would just make him a really fun character to create combos and cascading effects with. All right. And then next, moving on, we've got Kaelin, the Valkyrie Mage. And some of you have been very perceptive to the fact that this character looks too much like a real person to not be a real person. In fact, it is based on a real person. It's based on my wife, Kelly. For her birthday a couple of years ago, I decided to surprise her by having the artist sketch a character in her likeness, and I decided to make her into one of our summoners. So she is the Valkyrie Mage. My wife's name is actually Kelly, but we didn't want to use her real name, so Kaelin is a combination of her first and middle name, Kellyanne. So Kaelin, that's where this comes from. So yes, and the likeness is quite striking too. I was really happy with how the art turned out. We've got some other characters in our game that have likeness to real people. One of our Kickstarter rewards was to create characters in the likeness of people, so you'll be seeing more of these special kinds of characters in the game. Anyway, her character has the ability to gain mana when she hits. Valkyrie Mage is sort of like a fighter/mage, so she's got like a sword, and she's also magical. But we were talking this morning over our coffee date, and Kelly really likes this idea of characters that are sort of like catch you off guard. Like you don't expect them to surprise you and disarm you. And she used that word disarming. We played Warhammer 40K together, and she painted, she had an army of Tyranids, the alien race of bugs. And she painted them all pink and purple and had little cute flowers in the bases, because the whole idea was to create this idea of deception where you're like, what's with these cute little bug creatures, and they just come and destroy you. Like that's, so I love that aspect of it, and I thought, yeah, maybe we could work with that concept and try to bring it out a little bit better. So I was thinking maybe instead of block, what her power could be is that when she attacks, she just completely disarms the opponent and makes it so they can't attack for the next round, which kind of gives her the same defensive ability, because I didn't want to have her charging into battle without some way to defend herself, because it would just, she would get slaughtered. So I kind of like that idea. Like she steals mana, and then she also takes away your ability to fight for the next turn, which is kind of fun. All right, and then our last character on the list here is Rainman the Wizard, who is a character from Hero Mages. And he was, again, similar to the Archmage, but I didn't want to necessarily clone the Archmage's power exactly the same. We ended up combining him with Arcane and Chaos, so he'll be able to draw upon the destruction spells as well as the physics manipulation stuff. But I thought here, like the Wizard was always traditionally a very advanced character to play, and so I kind of wanted to relay that here. His power is not necessarily obvious, the strength of it when you look at it, but it's quite devastating. The whole goal of the Wizard is to control how you draw cards in your deck, to basically push away the randomness of deck drawing and put everything into your control. That's how the Wizard has always operated. He's for the very advanced player with very focused and carefully planned strategies in mind to maximize control of the game board. So his power is simply whenever he casts any kind of spell, he's going to draw another card. In Summoner's Fate, you always have 3 cards. You draw the 3 cards at the end of your turn. But the ability for him to draw a card after he casts gives him the ability to pull more magic in a single turn that would normally be possible. And then also when he discards. And I thought about this because, again, some of our very advanced players have figured out that you can get some really keen strategies and deck control by choosing to discard cards you can't cast in the turn to draw ones that you may desire to cast in that turn. I didn't want to give him the endless ability to do it because that would have been way too overpowered, but he could discard once per turn, draw a card, and then anytime you cast, draw a card. When you combine this ability with cards like our Mana Surge or our Mana Burn that lets you sacrifice health to gain more magical energy, he can become quite a wrecking force of power in the game. He's high risk, but also very high satisfying reward. All right, so those are all the summoners we have on the docket and some of the rough concepts that we'll be working with. And I'm going to turn over the chat now to see what kind of feedback and ideas and thoughts you guys have. So bear with me. I have to look over to the other screen as I have yet to figure out how to get chat working on both screens. So here we go. All right. So first off, hello and welcome to the Kelsum. Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you being here. All right. So we got a lot to read through here. We've got Click Click. Oh my God, I love him already, says Intercrella. Thank you. I'm so excited by that. All right. Okay, now that I look at it, Anna is weak. Let me redo it. I'm not sure what that refers to. Oh, here, he's got an idea for a summoner. Void Celestial. Oh, you know what? I just realized I'm missing... I just realized I'm missing all the Celestial summoners. I must have forgot to post them. I was like, this seems a little bit light here. So I may have to go and show those as well. We'll show those in the editor, but I do have 3 new Celestial summoners as well. As I'm thinking, we're a little bit unbalanced here. We got Nature, Void, Chaos, and Arcane, but I did not post the Celestial Summoner, so my bad. I'm sorry. I'll show those in just a minute. All right, but he's got Moon Oracle, Health, Far Shot, Support, Deal 3 damage, and Heal 3 life. Okay, Imzakrel, I love what you're thinking because you've got the exact combination of life and death concept that I wanted to convey in the character that does Void and Celestial. So thank you for already kind of suggesting that. And I'll kind of show you my idea as well. We can talk about how to massage that into the right form of ability. So I will show you our Celestial character we have planned for that. Okay, and then let's see what else we got. So this is some more tuning on the Summoner, and then Battle Cleric, and then he says, yeah, we were getting Ross and Kelly Summoners. Indeed. Okay, yeah, there's not necessarily a character that officially represents me in the game. I use the Rugged Mage in my forum profile just because, I don't know, I thought he was cool. But yeah, there's not an official necessarily one that was drawn in my likeness here. Okay, so we are going to go and I'm going to show you the other 3 summoners I had planned in the definition editor. So I'm going to back out. For those joining us for the first time, this is the tool I've created to build all the game's content. So all of our game is coded in ActionScript. I use Adobe Air Cross Compiler to make the actual runtimes. But this is the program I do most of the game design in now, which is a program I also wrote in ActionScript. So when I say what engine does our game run on, I say generally at this point it's our own engine because it really is. This runs our entire game in this module here. I can preview it on any kind of orientation. So for testing for phones or other devices, I can flip it around and stuff, which is really sweet. We're going to look at the cards though, and I'm going to show you the other summoners we forgot to mention. So one of those summoners is the Priestess. That's the one I think Imzakrella is going to really like. I have a hard time with ABCs here. Priestess. Okay, here we go. So here she is. Now, to give some context on the Priestess, Hero Mages originally had 4 mages, but we had 5 spell groups. And the way that game worked was that each spell group was attached to a particular type of magic. So there was Destruction, Manipulation, Augmentation, which was like buffs and things like that, and then summon spells. The 5th type of magic in that game was called Recovery, which was all the kinds of things for healing, restoration. And Hero Mages players always ask, why don't you have a summoner or mage that represents the healing class? And so I had concepted this idea for a Priestess to have been included in that game, but we just never had a chance or opportunity to really develop any further content. So I had the design sitting there, and I decided to carry that over again into Summoner's Fate, and that's where the idea of the priestess came from. But she was intended to be the summoner representing healing powers. But as it were, like I said, we were doing these combinations where we kind of thought every summoner should have a combination of 2 cards. And so what more appropriate than having her be life and death was sort of the idea there. And so I wanted something to reflect that power within her as well. And so that idea kind of came across as, what if she could imbue death upon her enemies and then gave life to her allies? So she's kind of got a dual focus power where her far shot, she doesn't attack unless she's in melee. But if she's at a range distance and she sees an enemy, she can give them a permanent -1/-1. So outright destroy 1/1 units or weaken and suck the life out of more powerful units, which gives her an awesome tactical advantage to hone in on whoever the opponent is focusing as their main attacker and then bring them down. And then she's got a support ability where if she chooses to use her power on an ally instead, it would heal them and remove debuffs. So basically a full-on cleric. And I did not give her any lifer stats I just noticed, so let's do that. We'll start her with a standard 220, which is most of the summoner's starting stats is 220. 20 is the standard life for most characters. But yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's save that again. And Imza Corelli, you had some strong thoughts on a Void Celestial-based character. And I'm looking at your abilities again. I think this actually seems surprisingly very close to your ability you described, which I'm just, again, delighted with that we had kind of the same idea. So you had said far shot support, deal 3 damage, and heal 3 life. So we didn't have her deal damage. We had her heal 4 life and also remove debuff. So she is, yeah, very similar to what you had described, except instead of dealing damage, she's just she's actually modifying stats. So what do you think about that? Does that seem like a cool take on those powers? Does that seem to represent the feel of the flavor of what you'd want in a character of this type? And Moon Priestess could be a cool name too. Moon Oracle, yeah. Kind of like that. Or Star, I'm not sure. She's kind of got the star-looking thing. Definitely Celestial. That was the idea for her. We wanted her to be like a Celestial line character and something that represent like suns or stars or moons, things like that could be pretty sweet. Yeah, maybe she's like the Sun and Moon Priestess. And that would really give her the flavor of the Celestial for Sun and the Moon for Void. It could be kind of fun. Yeah, kind of fun. Okay, so that's the Priestess power. And then there was 2 more I had not shown yet. Who were the other Celestials? Why am I drawing? Oh, yes, of course. I forgot. So Nova. Where's she at? All right, so the other one, Nova the Sorceress. So she is our Celestial and Chaos summoner. Nova is a character that was also represented in Hero Mages. She was the kind of the whole tutorial of Hero Mages was about the idea that this girl awoke with the power to destroy things, and the Emperor sought her out to recruit her to become his sort of, you know, part of his court, to be like the Celestial Sorcerer. So that's kind of, this is the evolved version of her, where she's now been adorned with the imperial wardrobe and, you know, raised from a village into like this royalty kind of character that has the power to destroy things. But she's Celestial aligned. So in Hero Mages, she had the power to basically zap lightning bolts at people. So I thought it'd be great to give her the lightning attack power. And then I didn't want to make her the same as the Pyromancer, who was all about fire. So instead of giving her damage boost, I thought, what if she just gets to cast all the destruction spells at a discount? Because they're sort of, again, naturally emanating from her life force, so she can cast destruction spells for 1 less. And then I also gave her a bit of a weaker stat. This is, again, trying to experiment a little bit with the idea of making her more glass cannon, in the sense that she's raw power, but, you know, a little bit at a disadvantage in terms of life. So that was the other character. And then the last summoner we have to make is called the Chronomancer. And he is one of the Celestial Steampunk Timekeeper Rats. This is a race of characters conceived of by Kelly, probably one of the most unique combinations of characters in the entire game. The one I'm most excited about creating. They have the ability to control time. So I have been having a hard time figuring out exactly what his powers could be. I thought maybe he's got discounts to casting the time spells, but maybe his power itself should also have some kind of time manipulation ability. We've had a lot of discussion about him in the Discord. I've got a whole brainstorm of powers, but I just have yet to figure out the right power and how that should work. But he will be a summoner, celestial and arcane, at some point in the future when we figure out what that will be. Okay, so we've done a lot of talking so far, not a whole lot of making of stuff. Now it's time to make some stuff. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start off with ClickClip because he's the one that's probably the closest to being ready to being done. Maybe because I cheated a little bit in making him because I really wanted to make the bug in the game. So we're going to start with making him first, and then I'll let you guys kind of drive the show from there. Okay, sound good? All right. Okay, cool. And then Imzakrella says, I was thinking at first the Moon Priestess would deal 3 damage. If the unit survives, it gets healed by 3. If not, it dies, but the Priestess is a cool character. Okay, excellent. Excellent. Okay, all right, so we're going to start with ClickClick. Here we go. Boom. He's already in the list here. And where is he? ClickClick. Okay, and he's called the Impaler because it just seemed appropriate for his power. I was going to say Impaler Mage. I got a little bit worried, but... Okay, so we can see him in here. It was kind of fun. I wanted to kind of prep for this character. I knew I was going to make him on the stream, and I wanted to kind of prep for a little bit by working on his animations. I'm going to talk a little bit about the animations here because this is something that's really cool about the engine we created. So my animator, Peter Jones, we met, it was over three years ago now, I think, and partnered together to make he made all the animations for the game. We're using a tool called Dragon Bones, which is a 2D-based armature animation tool. It's free to use, and it's an amazing tool. If you're familiar with Spine, that's kind of another popular one out there. It's kind of like Spine, except it's free. So on an indie budget, free is a good deal. And the other great thing about it is it's open source. So they provided all of the runtime in any language, Unity, ActionScript, HTML5. And that was very attractive to me because by being open source, I had the ability as an engineer to modify it to suit our needs. And one of the very first things we did with the engine was make it so that it would support vector graphics. So that what we could do is, instead of having it use its kind of built-in texture atlas creator, which would require every character being on their own atlas. This is a technical term we're not speaking. We were able to make it so that we could use our vector-based dynamic runtime atlas and pull the graphics from there. So what's cool about our game, if you're not familiar with like the specifics of tech with when I say draw calls, generally to make things run performant, you want to take all the pieces of those graphics and put them onto an atlas, which can then get mapped to your graphics processor. And the more atlases you have, the more operations it has to do to render those graphics. If you have all of your graphics on a single atlas, you only have to make one call to that GPU to render those graphics. And so you can have a very fast and high performance game by doing that. So that's what we did, was we basically made it so that all the game's graphics go into a single atlas, one draw call to run everything in the game, and get really fast performance at a really low file footprint, right? Because we're using those vector graphics to create it all at runtime. So what's awesome about that, like our game's footprint is like 50 megabytes for 200 unique characters, and all the graphics you see in the game, it's ridiculous. And they'll render beautifully on any scale because of the vector nature, which is awesome. But more than that, what's cool is that this character, the Insectoid, is a hybrid, right? So the concept that Peter and I took to evolve the existing Dragon Bones armature-based engine was to write custom code that would allow us to create, basically think of animation in terms of like if they were Lego pieces. That's how I would describe it. So, you know, my kids love to build things with Legos, and I thought, well, what if you could build Legos and the pieces were sort of already built in to animate? Like you had little legs you stick on the character, and those legs can animate. And then the upper bodies can animate, and then the heads can animate. And then, you know, maybe you have wings that animate, right? And what if you could take all those Legos, put them together into a character really easily by just dropping them on there, and then the whole thing would just animate as if it were designed to be that way. That is what this engine does, that we've built. It's really freaking sweet. So I'll kind of break it down. The Insectoid is a combination of a humanoid character mapped to our bug armature. So I'll show you a bug really quick, and you get the idea of how this works. So we've got, here's like a scorpion. This was the first bug that Peter made. He can move around, got all those 8 legs and things like that. He's got the pincers and stuff, and he's got like a bug death, which is pretty sweet. All right, so we took the bug and thought, okay, what if we basically made the insectoid creatures, like our mantis character, part bug, part humanoid. And we just stuck the human body onto the bug legs and then deleted a few of the extra legs so that it had 6 arms. And that was our bug, right? And then we created a wing armature, right, for bug wings and stuck that onto the character. And that's how we created the mantis. It's just literally a Lego pieces of all these existing armatures and animations we created all stuck together in here to create them. So let's go back to Click. Yeah, where is he? Yeah. Okay, so here's the upper body of the humanoid, right? And then he's using the, you can also give him different behaviors. So we wanted to have him kind of have like the extra arms kind of coming out. So he uses the dragon's behavior. And then you can see here the hybrid, we have them, the hybrid structures have different types you can use. We're nesting his body in the legs so that the upper body will basically rest in the socket of where the insect head would go. So we basically took off the scorpion's head, stuck on an entire torso, and that's how we made this thing. And then you can see when he moves around, we got the little, he's got the little clicking sound. That's why he's got the click. Yeah, it's moving around. All right, now check this out. This is the really cool thing. He's gonna fly. Whoosh! Oh, look at those insect wings. Now, if you've ever seen a praying mantis, this is exactly how they look when they fly. It is terrifying. They have their arms come out like that, and they fly around. These wings just come out of their back. You don't expect it, and that's how they look. It's awesome. It's awesome. So he is mantis all the way around. You can see his little look-up animation there. And then he's got, of course, his claw attack. That big arm. And he had a green arm, but I thought because he was a summoner, it'd be cool to give him a different color arm. So he's got a gold arm instead. But all the little skins for this guy are controlled inside of here. So, yeah, so there's his green arm. And I decided, let's give him the gold arm because it's kind of fun. And then he's got his harpoon here that he can throw. Okay, and then, yeah, so I did some work on the animations this week, actually. It's great. Peter did such a good job with the animations that it made it really easy. I'm not an animator, but I can follow the flow of making those animations really easily. So I did some tweaks. Like I made his little drop animation. This is kind of fun because I had to make a combination of animations so that those 2 parts would drop simultaneously for that. And you can see here, these are some of the properties that allow me to control how he sits on the body. So I'm trying to remember how these things all work, but I'm pretty sure this one here, if I move this, you can actually, yeah, so you can see the torso separate there. That's how this all works, so I can make adjustments to them. Anyway, that's how he's structured. So just a quick lesson in animation there of how we built him, which is kind of fun. Okay, so let's look at the rest of his powers here. Again, I kind of cheated on this guy. I sort of made him in advance, maybe. All right, so he's got move and shoot. All right, this allows him, unlike most of the characters that have range abilities, he can actually do it in 2 steps. It separates out his move and shoot action in 2 separate steps, which I'll show in the test. He's got flying. These abilities were already made, so it kind of was easy to put them together. I really just gave him the existing flying ability, gave him the harpoon ability, which the gladiator already has, move and shoot. He's type insectoid, so any spells or effects that affect insects will also affect him. And then he's got the celestial attribute that shows up here, and 220 life. Okay, so he's essentially all programmed. We're going to go and test him out, though, and make sure that he works as expected. So we'll go back to here, and we'll go to a nice grassy level for him, because he's a bug. Let's see here. Let's do... that's a good, nice, buggy-looking level. Jungle ambush, grass world, tree and sentinels. Let's do this one. There we go. Here's a nice naturey scene. Okay, and for some reason I'm testing him not as a summoner. Let's make sure he's the summoner. Let's go to Click. In the editor, I can make any character a summoner by just assigning him to the slot. And I don't know, we'll just make Clark up there. This is a very weird team. Okay, so here he is. And we'll go ahead and we're going to make this full screen here so we can really play around with them. Dun 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 dun. Okay, so here he is, and we're going to move on. All right, so this is what I was telling you about. So normally in Summoner's Fate, I designed it so that the goal was to eliminate all the distractions that typically come associated with turn-based games. Many games allow freedom to move, then attack in separate steps, because then you can kind of choose to like put everyone in movement in place, then attack in a certain order. I determined that actually makes games links take a lot longer than necessary because you're exponentially multiplying the number of possible turn permutations. So one of the ways we fixed that was to make everything a seamless gesture. So you would move and attack characters normally. I'm going to move them down so you can kind of see this. In a single gesture that would then attack. Yeah. So I still move and attack in my same turn, but I do it all as a single command. And so that's kind of like the constraint we added to Summoner's Fate to help game speed a lot, was that once you command a character, you don't have to worry about using them again. So for our move and shoot characters, we want the ability to both move and shoot, and obviously that becomes hard with a single gesture. So the way we handled that was to break it up into 2 steps. So first I move, all right, I let go of the mouse, and then I've got my location confirmed. And then it shows me all the possible targets in range from that location. If I want to change that, I can also put them back over here, and you can see can't attack anything over here, can't attack anything over here. So it's kind of one of the fun ways you can kind of play around with that mechanic. It's a little tricky. It's still not optimal or as intuitive as I'd like it to be, but it's the best implementation after many iterations of testing. So we're going to have to create a really good tutorial to explain how this works. But he's in place, and so now we're going to go ahead and go and harpoon somebody. And then he thwacks him with his claw. So that's very similar. This is actually the existing Gladiator character. The reason he attacks again is because our game's combat physics system entails that whenever a character is knocked into another character via push, pull, or other gravity effects, they get a bonus attack. And every character gets 1 regular attack and 1 bonus attack per round. And the bonus attack is either going to be triggered via the counter attack. So if somebody attacks you, they'll attack you back. That uses your bonus attack. Or if you knock into somebody with the gravity. So in his case, whenever he pulls somebody, he'll typically get that bonus attack. So he becomes really powerful when you do things like boost his power, right? Because effectively it would give him an additional, it would double his attack, right? So if he became like, you give him +1 power, he'd be a 3 power guy. He attacks twice, he now deals 6 damage. So that's one of the advantages of having it kind of combine the attack and the regular attack with the bonus attack. It's also great because the other cool thing you can do with the pull attack is you can surround people. So if you get people set up, like say I can't reach this guy because he's out of range to attack on this turn, what I can do is put her over here, right? And then now I can move him right there and watch what happens. Pull him in, and then this character got to attack. So that was the combo attack initiated from the cleric hero. You know, I'm curious why I didn't say combo, because it should be saying combo. Something must have gotten messed up here. It's not saying the combo attack there. Huh, weird. I'll have to go back and look at that. Normally it should go combo, combo, but it's not doing that for some reason. Huh. Not sure what happened. But yeah, those are those abilities there. So, yeah. So he appears to be working. Now the other power we had to test for him was his flight ability. So we're going to go ahead and show that. Over here. So flying triggers whenever you would move over an obstacle. So if I move here, notice I can move right through him to fly over. And then we can go and put him over here and we'll attack him. There you go. So there you go. There you have it. An awesome flying insectoid mantis creature that can harpoon people, cast nature spells. I am really excited about this character. So there's the first one down. All right. Any thoughts so far from the group here? Are you guys excited about Click Click? Okay, let's exit here. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to go back to our agenda here. All right, so we got some other characters here. Let's get the next one done here. So what are we thinking as far as next characters go? What do you guys want to go on to next? Make a summoner that gives all units poison. Yeah, interesting. I had thought about a poison character as well in Zakrella, and I have kind of pegged the plant girl for this. And I'll kind of explain. So again, with her being poison ivy, I thought one possible idea I was toying with this morning was she could maybe also have an inflict poison ability, so that you kind of have a choice between drawing on new plants or inflicting the poison with her attack there as well. Because players have naturally wanted to have a poison-themed deck, and my intent all along was that the plant sage would be the perfect poison character, because with the void and nature combination, she would have access to the poison spells in the nature section and also the poison spells in the void section, which is where all the poison-based abilities are typically located at right now. So having her have the ability to poison as well could be an interesting choice there. All right, so of the characters we've got listed up here, which one should we do next? Okay. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and pick one, and I'll let you guys pick the next one next. We're going to go with Sibylla. All right, let's go to her units. Sibylla. We got one new nature one. We're going to get one new void one here. Where's S? Okay. Okay. All right, so her power is that let's all ally units get +1/+1. All right, so the good news is I've already got the mechanics in for granting the kind of, I guess what you call it as the persistent buff power. And this particular power where it's all allied units already exists in one of our current units called the Red Starling. So I'm going to go to Red Starling, and so we can show this power. So this is the Red Starling. This character was based off of the literal Red Starling mascot for the Starling engine, which is what we use in making Summoner's Fate, created by Gamua Software and Daniel Spurl. So this character is in honor of Daniel Spurl. And the power of the Starling is all other allies get +1/+1. So this is what we need to carry over. And you can see here I've got it listed as allies. So we're going to reuse the same mechanic here on the Conjurer. Okay, so go to Sibylla. Where is she? S-I... Okay. All right, and we're going to add allies. I think it's called ability +1. Here we go. There we go. Allies +1/+1. Okay. Excellent. So there's that power. And then we can get rid of this. Oh, so then we need to add her other power, which is support, destroy to heal 3. So we're going to have to create that power. So let's delete this. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and create her support ability. So let's save her as she is. And we're going to go to the status effects, which is where I store all the abilities. And we're going to find an existing support power here. Let's go ahead and copy this healing one as a starter. Copy. Okay, support. Sacrifice. Spell that right? Yes. Okay, so the power as described was destroy to heal. Yeah, is that correct? Let's make sure. Destroy to heal, yes. Okay, correct. All right, and so I use these keywords here. AMP stands for amplitude, rather than hard-coding in numbers, so that I can dynamically tune the values without having to worry about the text description being inconsistent. This is a great way to ensure that as we localize the game, as we change powers, that I don't accidentally have a situation where the description is ever desynchronized from what the power actually does. So that's why I use the keyword amplitude here. This string gets replaced dynamically when the game runs. Okay, so first things first. The sacrifice power is intended to heal the caster, so we want to change this existing power here to ability user. Okay. And then as far as targeting goes, yes, we want visible unit who is on our team, who is not ourselves, but we don't care about the character being wounded, so we're going to remove this constraint here. Okay, and then the other thing we need to do is we're going to destroy that unit. So we're going to go ahead and create a new effect for set attribute. And our attribute we want here is called pending destroy, which will flag them as destroying after all of the other action effects have resolved for that command stack. And I'm going to set this number to 1. And this will be placed on the target. Okay. So it's going to destroy the target and then heal the ability user by whatever the amount amplitude is. Okay. And yes, I'm trying to also think, I don't want this to be an attribute. I want this to just be a fixed number. This does not get modified by the amplitude. Okay. And save this. And I also want to have it be synchronous with the sacrifice spell card sound effects. So we're going to go look at that. We have a card that already has the same ability. Okay, and this is the sound that we want, this leech life hit. Okay, destroy an ally to heal 5. Okay, so it's kind of like a weaker version of that ability. And then we go back to status effects, and we go to support sacrifice. Okay. Paste. Perfect. And save it up. Okay, and now we should be able to just go ahead and give her this power and test her out. So go to units. And go over here and give her a new support power. Okay, sacrifice. And I want this to be 3. See how that changed the amplitude there to 3 to match R3. And that's how that works. All right, Summoner. Other allies get +1/+1. Support, destroy to heal 3. There is her powers. Okay, excellent. Save her. All right, now I do have a question because we got 2 possible options. So I'm going to put her in guard mode. She's got this two-handed staff, right? And it's got this wicked blade on it. I've got 2 choices for how we could have her do her animations here, and I'm going to leave this to you guys to decide. We could have her do the double strike attack, which looks like that. Or another appropriate possible attack could be to do it like this. So instead of her kind of doing a side swipe, she almost like spears them. She kind of like, I guess what's the word, impales or skewers, maybe an appropriate term. This is kind of like a skewer looking thing. And that would look like this. All right, so once again, that was, what was the other one called? Two-handed swing side strike attack. So side strike attack is option 1 for her attack, or we could do single thrust attack. Which animation do you guys want for her? Choose. It's supposed to be interactive. Interact. What other game lets you literally take the reins and make key design choices like this? I mean, come on. This is awesome. I do got to recognize there's a delay in the stream, so sometimes when I talk, it's like, it takes the future some time to catch up. I have no idea how high the delay is, so it's one of the weird things of streaming. I guess I got to get used to is that our conversation is like slightly delayed, as if I were like in a different time phase or something. So it takes a while for what I said to make up to the point where I can see your responses to it. So again, the active question is simply, which animation do you want for attack? The skewer or the kind of double strike animation? Both are appropriate for a staff. So, okay. I'm just going to keep stabbing. Probably the biggest implication is what she looks like in a guard stance, because that's what she'll typically be in most times. And here's the other one again. Single swing. What was the other one called? Side swing attack. We could just go all out and give her a 2-handed bash. She just bashes with you like this. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense though. Doesn't really feel right. That's more intended for like a big club. Alright, well, I'm just going to save that. We're going to go test her. I'll still leave it to you guys to decide that if you want to shout out in the channel. All right, procedural 2. We'll go test her in the dungeon, and let's go test her, Sibilla the Summoner. S-I, S-I, S-I. For some reason, I have a hard time. I just like completely skip past her name every time. Okay, start game. Okay. All right, so we should see all of our allies get a +1/+1 boost. Excellent, that part worked. I probably should give her some kind of summoning spells here so that we can verify that she is in fact. Let's give her the Skeletal Legions deck here. Now I've got my debug controls on. Normally you wouldn't have this many cards in your hand, but it makes it really nice for me testing to... there's my entire deck. Look at that. There's no randomness at all. I can just summon anything I want. All right, so let's move her up here. Here, let's put this in full screen again because I feel like this is better for you guys to be able to really focus on what we're doing here. All right, so there she is, and we're going to summon some skeletons. And they did, in fact, get her +1/+1 buff. So that appears that power is working. Not surprising, it should. That's one of the great things about doing what we call a component-based architecture, where once the power is created and the logic's all done and we know it's working, we can very easily gift it to other characters by simply adding it to their ability list. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and test her second power, which is her sacrifice ability. Okay, so now she's taken some health damage, and we're going to go ahead and attempt to sacrifice one of these skeletons. And I couldn't quite see that 3 there, but that was +3. I guess I should probably fix that so these don't crop at the top there. Move it back down here to verify that that's 3. And there we go. So Sibilla is done. That was a pretty easy one to do. Again, when you use existing powers, it's very easy to make things work. Okay. Alrighty. That's 2 summoners down. All right. Let me see if there was any choices for what we should do next. I was thinking first. Okay. Summoners. The Rugged Mage kind of looks like you. Yeah, maybe. It's kind of funny. I think when we did the Rugged Mage, we just looked at like random shots, and there was some kind of random model on Google Images we found that we used as the concept for him. So. It wasn't intended to look like me, but maybe again after just enough association, he kind of looks like me. Yeah, I don't have quite such long hair, but yeah, he's got the beard, so I could see that. I could see that M. Crow. I mean, yeah. All right. Well, we've been talking about the Rugged Mage, and we should go ahead and make the Rugged Mage next. All right, let's go do that. Rugged Mage, gonna make some Rugged Mage. All right. Rugged Mage. Rugged. Okay, so he's got the 200 strikes for Get crazy with my staff. Alright. Alright, so he's going to have Move and Shoot, Far Shot, Knockback 2, and Inflict Rooted. Okay, so those are quite a few bunch of powers. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. So, first things first, let's give him the Move and Shoot power. It's already listed as an ability here. Okay, we can get rid of that. These are just our text placeholders in there. All right, and then the Far Shot, Knockback, and Inflict Rooted is the next step of that. So let's save him, and then we got to go and create that Far Shot ability to do his other power. Okay, so status effects, range. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I'm trying to think if there's any particular one that's better than to use for these purposes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Move and Shoot's already designed to function with the particular. Yeah, range 3. That's how I'm doing it. Okay, good. Okay. going to copy the harpoon and range knockback. Okay, save that. Okay, now how do we have that worded? Just it literally has knockback with a number. Okay. And then we're going to use our keyword again. Okay, so knockback. And then we change our... so a little bit about this, how this is working here. So I create the abilities here. With status effects have the ability to also act as actions. And the reason I do it this way is because I wanted it to be modular in the sense that if we were to cast a spell or equip something that we wanted to grant a new action type to a unit, I use the status effects because those are, again, componentized so they can be stuck onto a character. So that's why it's sort of designed this way. But status effects can confer both like literal statuses like attributes or values, but they can also grant actions. And the way I do that in the editor is by saying make action, and then I have to provide a context. The context determines when the action will be used. One of the design goals I had for Summoner's Fate was no menus. It's another thing I think is kind of like a relic of older game design models where the UI was very heavily used to convey menus and choices. So typical RPG, you'd have to like dive into a menu, select a power, pick it from the icon, then cast it, right? But that takes multiple steps. And Summoner's Fate's designed to be more intuitive, more tactile. Digging through menus breaks that cohesion. So what we do is all of our actions are context-based. If you want to use your range power, you simply select a range target, and it automatically picks the range power for you. If you want to use your melee power, you attack the guy next to you. It uses the melee. If you want to use your support ability, you target the ally. So context determines which action you use, rather than having to pick it from the menu. So we program that here. And since I cloned an existing ranged ability, this is already configured for me. Okay, we don't want the cast to be the grapple, so I'm going to delete that. It'll just use its default summon or cast animation. And we want the effect here to be gravity. And gravity number on target. We want the subtype of the gravity to be push away from the caster. See, we have different types of gravity. We've got push, we've got pull. We can also push or pull from the primary target loc, which is great. Like if you have a fireball and you want to have everything pushed away from the point of impact of the blast, you can do that too. Lots of cool ways to use gravity. All right, in this case, we're going to push away from the caster, and we want that to just be a number. We're going to put 1 in here because then it will use the amplitude. It'll just basically amplitude multiplies the number to give the finalized value. That way we can make that be whatever we want from the character. Okay, target is a visible unit who is not on the ability user's team. And in this case, I don't know, do we want to be able to push away things that are... I suppose you could go ahead and knock back furniture and stuff too. But we probably want to have a property that says target subject, target, attributes. We don't want to have him be able to target things that are rooted to the ground, because it wouldn't make sense to push a plant away. This power is not dealing any damage, so it would be silly to push something that's rooted to the ground. Number 1. Okay. Okay, so he can target anybody who's an enemy, and he can not target things that are rooted to the ground, because those will not get knocked back. Eventually, when we add our anchored ability, we'll probably put that as a constraint as well. Okay, we don't want this animation to be projectile animation. And we don't want to have it use sound effects here. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to grab a different sound effect for this from something else. And then we don't have any traits. Okay, now we do have some of these trigger abilities we need to adjust. Counterattack on range means that if he's attacked and he has the ability to use his counterattack, he will push away. So we'll keep that. And we're going to remove gravity pull and attack hit. Yeah. Good, good. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. And we are going to save that. I'm going to go grab that gravity sound effect now. We're going to use that from our existing gravity push power, which is called Gravity Blast. So I'm going to take this sound effect here, go back into the status effects, go back into the range knockback, and put that sound effect in there. Okay. Save that. Okay, now let's go to our units once again. Rugged Mage. Okay. All right, so let's get rid of, oh, we gotta also remember to give him the inflict rooted, so we'll have to create a power for that. Boom. Triggered abilities. Oh, sorry, it's not triggered, it's knockback. That was a range contacts. Okay, and we're gonna pass in 2. Okay, so Summoner, Move and Shoot, Far Shot, Knockback 2. Okay, and then the other ability we need to give him is that he's going to Inflict Rooted. Okay, so we need to give him that. We do not have a power for Inflict Rooted yet. We have a power for Inflict Immobilized, but we're going to actually root them to the ground, which basically the idea is that there's like little vines, I guess, coming out to hold them in place. So what we're going to do with that is go into our triggered abilities. I'm going to create this new ability. And that one will be listed as, let's see, we could probably use the existing Inflict Immobilize because it's very similar to that. And I'm going to copy this, Inflict Rooted. I'm just going to say Inflict Rooted instead. And then this is going to apply status effect. And so Immobilize, we're just going to apply the Rooted status effect. I think that's all we have to do. Okay, and then we're going to go into the unit again. Rugged Mage, Rugged Mage. Rugged. Okay. Trigger abilities, Inflict Rooted. Okay. Okay, Summoner, Move and Shoot, Inflict Rooted, Far Shot, Knockback 2. Okay, so there we go. His power is all in place. Now, there is one little kind of thing I guess I'll call out here that I have still to figure out in the engine. And that is that with our triggered abilities, this essentially will make it so that he will always inflict rooted, whether he is attacking in melee or ranged. Now, ideally, I want it to be just his ranged ability that does that. But in order to do that, there's some additional engine pieces I have to work in to get that to do it. In fact, I was experimenting earlier last week with the idea of changing out different equipments. And so in our game, you can use equipment cards to give characters new types of weapons that have different abilities. But one of the biggest challenges of having equipment for a CCG game is that it changes in some ways what the rules of the cards could be. So like, for example, like the Gladiator has that harpoon he can throw to pull people in. But what happens when you give him a two-handed Orc Warhammer right now? Well, he throws it, and he pulls people with the hammer, which doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. But that's because I didn't necessarily have a way to communicate the fact that it would be changing what's already on his card, right? So in order for that to work, we have to have a way to define which powers of the character are attached to the character himself, and which powers of the character are attached to the weapon. And that's something the game I have not designed in yet. To some extent I have. For example, like anything that would have a direct action, like we have a healing staff that does Far Shot healing. When you equip that, it replaces your existing Far Shot ability. So the actions, contacts do switch according to weapon, but triggered abilities are innately imbued on the character. They're not attached to the equipment. So therefore, he can always use the triggered ability. And the Gladiator's triggered ability is to harpoon pull him back. So he'll always harpoon him regardless of his weapon because that's just his innate power. So at some point in the future, I'll look at investigating a way to make that a little bit more granular and maybe even define contexts for which weapons or equipment are attached to the triggered ability. So that way, if you were to equip something new, you could replace the ability. It's kind of for the same reason that I have like equipments like shield or two-handed weapons, and the current solution I have is simply to not allow a character wielding a shield to use a two-handed weapon or vice versa, because it would look strange to use the block animation with a two-handed hammer. And currently there's not a way to remove a character's innate abilities. So something for the future. We're not going to worry about that now, but as written, this is still correct. He is a summoner, he has move and shoot, he inflicts rooted, and then his far shot is knockback too. So he'll always inflict the rooted, whether he's meleeing or far shotting, but he'll also get to use his knockback at range attack. Okay, we are ready to test the Rugged Mage. Let's begin. Okay, so go to maps. All right, let's go someplace different. Let's go to the desert. I always test. I gotta show off some of the different terrains here. I always feel like I'm testing in that same dungeon level. So we'll test him on the desert. Okay, we want rugged. R-U-G. There it is. Okay. Okay, so here we go, and let's go ahead and flip this to full screen. See, isn't that amazing? That was our rasterization engine. You see the scale of all these units just grew to fill the full screen. That's how fast the dynamic, it basically created an entirely new texture atlas in those few seconds to render everything here at very high resolution. Okay, so he can move and shoot, so we should, of course, see the mechanism for move and shoot here, which is cool. We have a problem. It looks like he's able to target things that are rooted, which he should not be able to do, so that's a little weird. Yeah, that is not going to ever do anything, so I'm not sure why that worked. Maybe we forgot to save it? I don't know. So we're going to have to fix that. But let's test out his other abilities here. Let's attempt to move here. Oops, that's not a line. Move here. Oh. Oh! I see the bug. Apparently we made it so that he can only target rooted, not anything else. That's why he can't attack the troll right now, which is kind of funny. Yeah, let me just also test this out. And he didn't inflict anything because he didn't deal enough damage. Yeah, that's a problem too. We're gonna need to add some kind of a status effect there for the rooted to show that he's rooted to the ground, because right now it's not showing any kind of status effect for that. So we'll create a power for that. Okay, so there's two things we have to fix. Let's escape out of here. All right, so number one, we need to go into our status effects, go to knockback ranged, and fix this bug. This should be less than or equal to 0 instead. And that should fix that problem. And the other thing we need to do is create another status effect for rooted that's not. So we use this currently on the furniture, but we want another version of this that's going to be similar to the immobilized one. Let me use this guy here, because I want that little status effect marker to show up. And I also guess I want to say negative status too. That's another thing I can take into account. So we're going to call this one copy. How am I going to do this? Let's see. I know what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and make this be called ability rooted, because it's technically, this is the innate ability rooted. Okay, save. And then we're going to go to immobilized, and we're going to copy this and call this one rooted. And then we're just going to say rooted. And then this is not, this is, oh, yeah, and that's another good call. Rooted, this is temporary as well. Let's make sure we denote that. Rooted temp. Okay, because we don't want it to last forever, otherwise it would permanently be rooted to the ground. So for one round, rooted, and this instead of being can't move, we're going to make it rooted. Okay, and let's save that. And then we have to go back to the Rugged Mage and make sure he's got the appropriate, or no, sorry, the triggered ability that says inflict rooted. Change this to rooted temp. There we go. Okay, much better. At some point, I'll have a better status effect. I kind of think that the rooted should be like little vine symbols. So I'll replace that at some point in the future to have it be little vines instead of just the cross-out symbol. Okay, let's go back and test this out. And we're on the desert sand, so now it should be functional here. And in fact, it's interesting. I just occurred another problem that's just occurred to me here. Interesting. Okay, I'll explain what the problem is here. But what I realized is that his power should not be inflict rooted, because inflict rooted means that when he deals damage, that's what the inflict keyword means. So I'll show you the card. Inflict is give units injured by attack and effect. Well, his knockback power is still targeting. Oh, no, it's not. It's because I can attack these. If I go here, there we go. Okay, so his knockback is working, which is good. But he is not causing any kind of immobilization or rooted because he didn't deal any damage. So we're going to go back to the drawing board again and fix this as follows. We're going to go to Status Effects, Ranged. This is why we test. I just love this. We can just do it all in here and figure it out. So this would really be knockback and rooted. Okay. And we're going to combine this effect so that it does both. If actually, you know what? We don't have to do that. I'm going to show you a cool thing that our engine has capability to do. We're going to keep this power as is. We're going to keep it modular, right? And what I'm going to do is we're going to copy this. Okay, range, rooted. I'm going to call this affix rooted. Okay, and then we're going to change this effect here from gravity to apply status effect. And we're going to apply the rooted effect here. Rooted, save. Okay, and then keep that there is probably fine. Okay, and all the other powers are fine. Okay, and then we're going to say, how did we describe him again? It was, we don't want to say inflict rooted. We want to say give knockback to, we're going to say give rooted. Okay, give rooted. Rooted does not need a modifier, so we'll keep that at 0. Okay. Good. And save. Okay. Now we're going to go back to the Rugged Mage. Units. This is actually great because he'll work exactly how we intended now. Alright, so we're going to remove this guy. Okay, and now we're going to give him another range power. So I designed the range context so when you apply multiple ranged abilities, it will actually the code is designed to combine them. So I can use them either as separate abilities, or if I combine them together, it will generate a new ability that has both action effects from each ability wrapped into the one. And it'll use the targeting constraints of the first one. In this case, they both have the same targeting, so it doesn't matter. But that's how I do things like the Cleric has got a heal and then a debuff. Rather than making one power that has both effects combined, I create two separate powers and then just give the character both abilities. That way, if I want to later change him to do knockback and something else, I can just easily swap out his second ability. So again, modular is good. Modular is versatile. All right, and so the other power we want here is, we called it give rooted, or fix rooted. No, really, it's fine. Okay, so there we go. There we go. So now his far shot, he will only give the rooted with his far shot ability. Okay, and I also realized that his knockback was not all that impressive because he pushes him back just 2. I kind of want him to go back. Maybe it should be, 2 is, thinking about if I want him to go further than 2, if it should be higher. I feel like I want to knock him back, but yeah, let's give him 3. Let's bump that up a little bit. Okay, knockback 3. Make him a little stronger. I like that. It's more fun if it goes farther back. Okay, back. Maps. All right, and third time's a charm here. I think we've got this guy locked down now. Desert Sands and test. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so here we go. We're going to test him out. Let's go back to full screen mode, and here we are. All right, so I can attack these by moving and attacking them. That's normal. You get hit by the cactus. Good. Okay, and then let's put a troll up here so we can verify he's going to use his power. Okay, and I should be able to just target him. Oh, he's not 3 away. Far shot is, move and shoot means it's 3 away. So 1, 2, 3, I have to be 1 space closer. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and blast him away. Okay, interesting. So this time it used the rooted worked, but it didn't apply his knockback power. That's interesting. I actually understand why it did that too. It appears that it applied the rooted first, which means cannot be moved, and then as a result of it being rooted, it could not do the knockback. So that didn't help us out so much, did it? No, it did not. Yeah, we're going to try another thing here. Yeah, that's weird. I think that's got to do with order of operations. Let's see if I switch those 2 powers around, if it makes a difference. Rugged Mage. I'm pretty certain that's what's happening. It's applying one effect before the other. Not sure why it chose to do in that order. Okay, let's save it. Let's see if it works now. Okay, I'm just going to do testing this dungeon over here. Okay, they just turned out to be a bigger pain in the butt than I had hoped. There we go. Now he's rooted and mobile. So that was an order of operations thing. A little weird now because now it reads as give rooted and knockback 3, but it's functional. So I'll have to look at why it chose to do those abilities in reverse order. I'm sure there's a good reason why I have it do it that way. Cool. All right, so he should be good to go now. Let's just test him a few more times. Oh yeah, we want to test if he attacks regularly. Interesting. Okay, that's normal. Put him over here. Okay, so he did not apply the rooted effect for his regular attack, which is good. That's what we wanted. There we go. Okay, cool. So that's pretty sweet. So Rugged Mage can move and attack, and he has that cool gravity power where he can basically knock somebody away and apply the Immobilize. So he's another fun character where he can leverage the combo effects to create additional attacks here. So I'll give you an example of that. Oh, here, you're going to love this. Watch this. Okay, so we're going to put him over here. We're going to push him. He's going to knock into that spike, and then the spike's going to knock him out in front of this character here for an attack. Oh, that's not what I expected to happen. Interesting. It should have knocked him back over there. Interesting. I wonder if I introduced some kind of bugs in the last version here. I was trying to... Let's see if I can get it this way. Oh, because he's rooted, he can't get knocked back. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, I've decided I don't like rooted. We're going to change that to just regular immobilized. It's just too confusing with the mechanics to do it that way. So let's go back to that status effect. Yeah, I don't want him to be rooted. I want him to just be immobilized. So let's do go back to ranged. We have as a fixed rooted. We're going to say ranged, affixed, immobilized, or we're going to say give immobilized. Or we could even just say, is it immobilized? And give immobilized. Okay, and let's change this to immobilized. That's probably going to be a lot better. Save that. And Yes. Okay, save. Okay, and then maps. Let's test this one more time. Yeah, I think that's a better way to do it. Okay. Just trying to set this up again. Okay, now it should do what I want it to do. There we go. That's what I wanted. So now I knocked him in the spikes. He got pushed out of the spikes and got hit by this character here. Yeah, immobilize is a lot better than doing the rooted. I think that works better. So we're going to go with that. Far shot, give immobilize, knock back 3. Oh, and it looks like I used the term immobilize, not immobilized. Interesting as well. What's another character I have that does the immobilize thing? The skeleton giant. Let's put him in here. Just checking for consistency in descriptions right now. Let's see, big giant. Skeleton giant. Okay. He was rooted on the spikes. Yeah, thanks, Maltros. Yes, indeed he was. Indeed he was. All right, so let's see. The way I do him is inflict, immobilize. Okay, so that's why I should probably make that term consistent. Let's do status effect, range, give, inflict, immobilize. I'm going to say give, immobilize. Okay. And in fact, we probably even need to say give because it's just sort of a verb itself, so immobilize. There we go. Okay, that's probably going to be better. And let's just see how that looks on this card now. Rugged Mage. Yep, far shot, immobilize. And I'm going to change those back to how I had before too. Ugh. No, I'm going to keep it like that. Summoner, move and shoot, far shot, immobilize, knock back 3. Okay, there we go. Rugged Mage is done. There we go. Excellent. I'll do one more quick test. You know, I'm curious why my little combo effect wasn't happening there. Little alarmed that didn't do the little combo effect I wanted it to do. I'm curious why. I'm really hoping I didn't introduce some kind of bug in the new version that somehow disabled that. Let's take a look at that. Interesting, yeah. Somehow my combo attack, oh no, there it is, combo SFX. Yeah, so that's interesting. Why it didn't play the combo SFX and do the combo animation when it did those effects? It's interesting. I'm really hoping I didn't break something in that little patch because the combo effect should be saying combo. Huh. Interesting. All right, I'll take a look at that later. All right, so we've got, so far done today, we've completed Click Click, the Impaler, Rugged Mage, and Sibylla. By the way, thanks for joining, Maltros. Glad to have you on the stream again with us today. All right, so that's 3 summoners. Let's see how many more we can get in here. Any thoughts on who we should do next, guys? Please don't pick the Botanical Sage. I don't think I'm ready to figure out how to implement draw a random plant card. We'll work on that in a future one. But any of these other guys here jumping out at you? You could probably get Dork Slayer done pretty easily since he doesn't necessarily have any powers, and I could definitely add him to the build. Oh, speaking of which, that's a very important thing I need to make sure I do. Before I forget, I need to activate these characters so that they'll actually appear in the build when we apply the update. So first off, Click Click is now functional, which means he will be activated as a card. Who else do we do? We did Rugged Mage. Rugged Mage is once again functional. And then we have Sibylla as the other character we added. S-I-B. I always have a hard time finding her name. There we go. And she is functional. Okay, save. Okay. I'm curious what the Dark Elf's power might be. Yes, that's a great question. We haven't decided yet. He still is coming soon. I put him in there just to kind of showcase the other characters we have planned to become summoners. I haven't fully decided his power yet. I know that you had mentioned in a previous stream the idea of giving him some spiders, which I thought was kind of cool. I'm not quite sure how the spiders will work yet. But since we're talking about them, I'll give you some of the different possibilities we had in place there. So one of the aspects of Dark Elves in our game is that they're going to have these mutations that they have where they combine with insects. I'll show you what some of those look like. So we've got the Dark Elf Scorpion, which is a hybrid of a scorpion creature and a Dark Elf, and this is what he looks like. Pretty sweet, right? Ah! And then we've got a Dark Elf Spider that's a combination of a Dark Elf and a giant spider. So there's another cool character. And then we've got spiders, right, that look like this. Not to be confused with our wolf spider mother creature, which is another type of spider we have, but we got these guys. So I do love the idea of the Dark Elves having some kind of affinity with the bugs. But I don't quite know yet how that would work. so Maltros, I think, had suggested on an earlier stream something where the Dark Elf summoner could create spiders in some capacity, kind of like how the Druid creates squirrels. And I was trying to think if maybe the spiders could be used to like merge a Dark Elf character with the spider to create the mutant. But I'm just a little bit, haven't yet pieced together how those things would all necessarily work together, or if that would even be the right way to go, because I don't know what the base Dark Elf character would necessarily be to create that. I suppose we could just use these characters and then eventually morph them into Dark Elf spiders or scorpions, but yeah, so there's some possibilities or ideas for Dark Elf Sorcerer that were discussed, but I'm not quite sure what his powers are yet, hence why he's still TBD. Hey, Clever Name Already Taken is here. Good morning. Welcome to our stream. Today we are making new summoners, and we're going to attempt to deliver them over the air during the stream here once we've got a good bunch of them made and we're done making them. So far we've created Click Click, the Impaler, the Rugged Mage, and Sibylla, and now we're debating our next choice. And we were talking just now about the Dark Elf Sorcerer. He does not have powers defined yet, but something with spiders could be cool, but we don't know what the something is yet. So he's a little bit harder to come up with right now. So any other thoughts, characters we want to see in the game? This guy here is kind of still begging for a power. I mentioned the Dreadnought Warlock. Again, we were toying here with the idea of good stats being a power in itself on the Discord. So I love the idea of this guy is just super heavily armored, like the other Dreadnoughts. He's got a shield, so he can block. But I still worry that he needs some little extra power because as it stands right now, he's really good against almost any other summoner, but if he fights the Lich King can cut right through that armor and that shield. So I feel like that's a bit of a disadvantage. That I'd like to give him something else, but I'm not sure what. Something little that could kind of make him cool. Yeah. Maltros says, I've been having fun with the Dreadnoughts. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. There's going to be a lot more Dreadnoughts coming soon. My hopes. Dreadnoughts and demons that all kind of play together with various chaos cards. I'd like to find ways to make the older cards relevant by creating new cards that create additional synergies for the existing cards. So most games, it's kind of sad, when they introduce new content, it makes the old content irrelevant due to power creep and other various factors. In Summoner's Fate, I introduced new cards to make the old cards even more fun and interesting. It's the exact opposite. You get more value for the content you already have when we introduce new content. I mean, what a landmark concept, right? And a quick example of that was we just released build version 30 yesterday, and build version 30, I decided I wanted to get more synergies out of the existing cards. So we actually changed how the animal mutation and the breed cards work. So breed was a card that used to make copies of squirrels and bunnies. Now it makes copies of any small animals. And I converted existing animals like the fox and the bird into small animals so you could breed those as well. And then we also changed our animal mutation card, which is this spell over here. Let's see, animal growth. So animal growth used to just mutate squirrels and bunnies, but now it mutates any small animal. So now you can create mutants of snakes and mutants of birds and mutants of foxes. So yeah, more value and interest and more synergies than before, rather than taking away powers. That's how I view content expansions. All right. So Image Perel says, Orc, Valkyrie, or Deceiver. Okay, great. Let's do them all. Let's do them all. All right, so Orc's kind of easy to do. He's another one that's sort of just by nature of the fact that he's already, all of his abilities are already programmed, he's essentially done. So all we're going to really do with the Dork Slayer is have that discussion. All right. First thing I'm going to do is set him to active, so he will now be available in the game. We're going to save him, and we're going to review his powers really quick. So he's got Knockback 1, Power 5, 28. So his abilities are simply that he's a badass. He's got a very high attack. There's no need to worry about testing that because by virtue of it being in here, it's an existing power. But we will go ahead and test him, but we don't have to program anything new. The Knockback is also an existing ability, so it also just works. And then we gave him very high health, so it's more health than any of the other characters. Fighter Mage has 25, he's got 28. So he's just really, really tough. Is that what we want in an Orc? That's really the question. That's all we have to answer here. Are you guys happy with the Orc? Would you pick him? Would he be a compelling choice for you to play? Plus, he's also an Orc. That's another ability that's not so much an obvious ability, but remember last time we created a spell on the stream called Orc Battlehorn that gives Orc characters an additional buff. And I do believe that that card was a nature card. Let's just go double check right now. So that was called Orc Battlehorn. Yeah. There you go. So you could take an Orc Chief and then use the Orc Battlehorn and get extra beefiness to him because of the virtue that he's an Orc. So thoughts? Are we happy with the idea of a just really beefy summoner with not so many crazy powers other than his big old hammer? I mean, I kind of think it's cool. But my aim is to, I want to make it hard for you, in other words. Like when you go to pick your decks, I want to create some tension where you're like, oh, I really want this, but I also like this guy. And if as long as he sees you as a choice that like, yeah, I would totally pick him for this kind of deck, then he's good to go. So I'm just trying to get a readout on the perception. Is that exciting enough? All right. I do like his power and health, though. Maybe give him an innate summon to summon basic orcs. Oh, okay. So he could summon orcs, too, is an interesting ability. Trying to think how we could do something like that. All right, so the only way I could vision him summoning creatures could be that when he attacks, he creates an orc or goblin. Probably too strong to create an orc at the stats he's at right now, but we could say create like a basic goblin would probably be fair to do. So the idea that him being a chief could make sense. I could see that. There's no way to give him like a direct summon ability because the context for targeting a space is to move there. But we do have a character, the Necromancer, that can summon skeletons by virtue attacking, so we could totally do that. He could have a knockback when he attacks, summon a goblin. Or every time he draws a card, I know to his hand. That could work too. I think I like the idea a lot of the goblin power, so we could try that. But we probably have to bring his stats back down then to make him a little bit more fair, since he'll be summoning creatures. Okay. Yeah, and 1 card per turn. Yeah, so if we're going to limit him to 1 card a turn, probably the easiest to link it to his attack, as you suggested in the first one. Okay, let's explore that. Let's see. So let's look at the Necromancer and figure out how I did that with her. So Necromancer has got summon, skeleton on attack. So we basically just need to create a summon orc or summon a goblin on attack. And I would suggest it would probably be a basic goblin. Well, we'll try. We'll start with this. Let's go to units. Let's go to triggered abilities. Let's go to summon skeleton on attack. Copy. Summon goblin on attack. Okay, and then we're going to just change this from skeleton warrior to goblin. Summon a 1/1 goblin that's running space after your attack. Let's just simplify that a bit. Summon. There we go. Units. Bjork Slayer. Okay, summon knockback. Summon a 1/1 goblin. Okay, let's get rid of this flavor text. Now he's got too much text going on there. Summon knockback. Summoner knockback 1. Summon a 1/1 goblin after your attack. You could also say when you attack, but that's probably fine. All right, and then his stats are probably a bit too beefy now. We could still keep him pretty high. I'm trying to think. We're gonna reduce his power by 1, and let's put him down to 25. Update, save, menu, maps. Okay. Test. I have all these characters on this map. Let's get rid of these guys. Go away. There we go. Target match and Dork Slayer, Dork Slayer, Dork Slayer. Oops. Test. Start game. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Oh god, that's dex really too big. So let's shrink that back down to a contest. Where's that in my mind? There we go. Okay, there we go. When this unit chats, summon Ross. At the end of your turn, okay, here we go. Let's see. At the end of your turn, if this has an attack, gain a 1 mana 2/2 orc with knockback. Now we wait for Ross to notice. Sorry, it's hard to both develop and look at the chat at the same time. I'm sure there's a plugin that would make it so the chat messages appear on my primary monitor. I will have to look into that for next time because it's really been bothering me to have to look at the side. I also don't like reading the messages and feeling like I'm talking to the side of your face or whatever when I do that. So I'll try and fix that for a future stream. Okay. Well, anyway, I sort of went with Maltross's original idea here, which was the easiest and quickest and simplest way to represent that concept of summoning something. Okay, Summoner, knockback 1, summon a goblin after attack. Here we go. Yeah! That's kind of fun. I mean, I could see that. The little goblins sort of look up to the big old orcs and just kind of follow them around. And it's not too OP. So what I did was I decided if he's going to summon a goblin, he's going to basically get an extra 1/1 attack. So it doesn't justify having a power of 5 any longer because he'll get a power of 5 attack by virtue of having the goblin there. And then his health also didn't need to be as high because the summoning ability is pretty strong. So now the way I look at the orc chief is kind of like he's definitely a very natural leader of orcs. He's got the beefy attack. He's got the knockback, which gives him a great melee advantage because by virtue of being knocked back, the troll couldn't attack him back. So that'll already help his survivability more so than any other type of extra life would do. And he gets to summon a little creature, which is cool. So that's kind of fun. And you can also attack something different if he wants to with the weapon. The other cool tactical thing you could do here is, so everyone, by virtue of having a character, it's always natural to go and charge head first. But there's a very cool tactical advantage you may not see, which I've kind of seen over playing many iterations of this. You can use these little 1/1 creatures as blockers, natural blockers, right? So I could put him over here, instead of attacking this guy, which he would just kill this turn anyway, and just getting a simple 1 damage. By putting him there, I've now really disrupted this character's turn. Because now, when he takes his turn, he can't move past this goblin unless he uses somebody else to kill it, right? Or he has to use his turn to kill the goblin. So sometimes making it so that somebody is blocked at the expense of a little bit less damage is also very effective because now their whole advancement toward me is hindered. And that may save me from having to take an additional 4 damage because now I can also advance my character and not have to worry about retaliation from the skeleton. And then after he kills him on his turn, now I'll get to charge in first with my Necromancer and summon skeletons. So that's kind of a cool ability that you can use the Goblin for. Yeah. So, Maltros, this was your suggestion. What do you think of that implementation? I love the Goblin sounds. Yes, I do too. Oh my god. I need to get a good orc sound in there because he needs an appropriate, like, you know, or something like that kind of sound when the orc gets hurt and stuff like that. Okay, cool. So there you go. I love that. A great example of game designer, player collaboration. I was just going to have a simply, you know, straightforward beefy orc, but now, thanks to Maltros, we've got a still pretty beefy orc that can summon little goblins when he attacks, which makes them pretty fun. Yeah, I dig it. All right, so we've got Dorkslayer done. Huzzah, another mage. All right, let's see. Who else do we say we're going to do next? We said, we go, scroll back up here. Okay. What's that list of cards? Oh, Valkyrie. Yes, okay, Valkyrie and Deceiver. All right, let's do the Deceiver first because her powers already exist. Oh, before I do anything, though, let's make sure I did turn on functional for Dorkslayer. I did. Good. Okay, and then Deceiver. Starts with it's a Serpent of Deceiver. Okay, there she is. Okay, so the idea of the Deceiver was to basically give her the powers of the Psionist. So really, with this character, I didn't have to do any additional programming. I just took the existing Psychic Blast power of the Psionist and bestowed it upon the Deceiver. And then her natural abilities are Void and Nature, which is great. So we've got a nice combination of those colors we can use now in the game, which is cool. Let's go and test her, make sure that she works. Oh, but first let's change it to functional, save. Go to maps. Go to, there we go, test it. And let's give me the Serpent of Deceiver. Okay. All right, so first things first, she's got a Far Shot ability, and she does not have move and shoot, so she can't move and attack. I can either attack from my current location or move. That's correct. Look at that sweet animation. So I talked earlier about how we made Click Click, the Mantis creature, was a combination of a bug and a humanoid torso that we stuck together, that we Legoed together, as you will, and they just sort of naturally worked. So same thing here. Basically, I took the snake body and replaced the snake's head with a humanoid torso containing the snake's, you know, humanoid snake head. And that's how I made the snake humanoid creature. And so it's actually cool because it follows the same slither animation as the snake, but the body moves naturally. So this is how I would imagine a humanoid snake creature would move. Pretty sweet, huh? Look at that. Yeah. Pretty awesome. Okay, so her power is that she can take control of something that has 3 or less life. So first off, let's make sure we don't control something that's not 3 or less life. Good. All right, now let's deal some damage here. All right, so she got 6. 6 minus 2 would be 4, not enough. We need one more zap there. Okay, now she's got 4. I'm going to deal 2, which will bring her less than 3. Now you are hypnotized. You are my creature to control. Cool. And similar to the Psionist, that power is temporary. So if I command her, she gets unhypnotized after the command. Also at the end of the turn. So again, basically just took the Psionist power, gave it to the summoner because the Psionist is so cool. Why limit to just one character? Let's make it a summoner too. All right. So Serpentine Deceiver is ready to go. Oh, if you put her in, do we get more snake peeps? Yes, there are more snake creatures planned. I do not have powers for all of them yet, but I'll show you some of the designs real quick. Let's see. Units. So there's a whole bunch of Serpenta creatures. Serpenta Warrior, just a snake guy with a cool little stabby guy thing here. Then we got the Amit Guard. It's got the axe. So yeah, we had planned all along to have snake humanoid creatures definitely one of my favorite type of fantasy trope style characters I wanted to have included in the game. They've also got the cool snake animation move. I don't have powers to them yet. I'm not sure what they're all going to do that will uniquely define them. We've also got lizard people as well that are going to be in the game, so there's all kinds of different iterations of those. You can see here there's a cool lizard guy, and they got the cool tails, so all kinds of awesome options for reptiles in the future. But for now, we will have the snake mage. Okay, and then M. Zacrella said Valkyrie mage is another one, so let's get Valkyrie mage in. V for Valkyrie mage. Oh no, it's Kaylin. That's what we gotta go by the first name. K for Kaylin. Okay, H-I-G-K. All right, and so with her, again, I talked with Kelly this morning about it, and rather than having the block, I like the idea of her just having a complete disarm attack, which is way sweeter and more unique. So we're going to remove block. And then we're going to create a new ability that will inflict cannot attack status when she hurts somebody. So we're going to save. And then we're going to go to triggered abilities. We're going to go to our inflict. In fact, do I have a cannot attack status yet? Probably not. Cannot be attacked, cannot block, cannot combo counter. Okay. I'm trying to think how we can do this. Yeah, let's copy this. Cannot attack. Can't attack, and then I need to give it a until end of next turn. Can't attack until end of next turn. Yes, that sounds good. And then we're going to add the attribute cannot attack. All right. There we go. Can't attack until end of next turn. Save. All right. We're going to go to our triggered abilities, and then we're going to have a new triggered ability that will inflict that. So inflict. Let's just get rid of this. We don't need this rooted anymore, so we're going to change that. Inflict cannot attack. Like this. There we go. Inflict can attack until end of next turn. Perfect. And save. Let's go back to Kaylin. Notice I'm trying to go a little faster now because we're down to our last half hour, and I want to get as many of these in as possible for you guys. So, all right. Triggered abilities. Can attack. No, it was called inflict cannot attack. There we go. Okay, again, 1 mana when your attack hits. Inflict, can't attack until end of next turn. Okay, great. Let's see if it looks any better if I do it this way. Yeah, let's do it that way. Okay, cool. And save. Let's go test her out. Okay, and maybe Kaylin. K for Kaylin. Here she is. Okay. All right. So she's melee based. All right, so I'm gonna attack the skeleton, and that was her mana gain, and also her. I don't think I like that sound effect of the mana gain per se. I'm gonna change that. But he did not get to counterattack back. And let's verify that he can't use end of turn he should be totally knocked out of attacking for 1 round. So he can still be moved, but he could not attack. Okay, good. And then this should go away now. So now he should be able to attack again. And he does. Good. Cool. So that's pretty awesome. So Kaylin's whole thing is about disarming the enemy, which I love. So normally sending a summoner into melee is a bad idea, but because of her disarm ability, not only do they not get to counterattack, but they can't attack her the next round either. So it nullifies essentially 2 attacks on a single character, which is incredible. Makes her really awesome for going toe-to-toe with a really powerful foe because she can basically just keep disarming it. Unless you've got a cleric or something to remove the negative status effect, it completely debilitates this character, which is pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Let's check out one more thing. I want to just verify that they can't counterattack either. Okay, so... Oh, okay, but it wore off at the end of this turn, so yes, he can counterattack this round still. Good, okay. Yeah, so her power works fantastic. I just want to change one quick thing with that mana generation ability. Triggered abilities. Let's see. How are we going to do this? Trigger abilities. Gain mana hit. That sound effect was just not the right sound effect at all. I want the recovery sound effect. Spells. I'm going to go to the healing. Let's use this for mana generation. Oh wait, mana surge. What do I use for mana surge? That's the one I want to use for the mana sound effect. Okay, spells. Triggered abilities. So it was inflict. What was that power call? Gain mana on hit. Let's change that to this. And then, yes, that should be good. Cool. All right. And then the last thing I want to do is we're going to go back to units again. I want to have those operate in the reverse order. So that it does the other one first. Okay. Maps, procedural 2. Okay, let's test it. Just want to make that animation sequence a little bit cleaner. Oh, it still did the mana. Oh, the mana, okay, it has a different trigger. The sound effects look right now, but... I honestly don't know if she needs to have another power. That mana may be too much. Disarming is already really, really good. In fact, I think I'm just going to remove that power. Let's go back to Kaylin again. Yeah, I don't know that the mana generation is necessary with her. What do you guys think about that? So right now she's got 2 abilities. One of them was the mana drain, and then the other one was the can't attack. But is the mana generation really necessary given the very powerful implications of completely disarming an enemy unit from attacking? Is there a bard music using summoner? There is not a bard. There are several bards in the game. Actually, we have 2 different bards in the game. Not a summoner class though bard. Maybe gain mana if you don't attack this turn. Oh, interesting. So you have to kind of choose the ability. Mana is enough. I mean, she can shut down a barbarian. That's powerful. Yeah, agreed. I don't know if I like the idea of her having mana generation without attacking, because then players will tend to turtle, and the fact that she gets an extra mana already gives her a huge mana. Yeah, I kind of feel like that's not necessary. we've got Mana Search cards gain more mana. Having the permanent ability to gain more mana like that is maybe not essential. However, I do have an idea about that mana generation ability. Maybe that would be applicable to a character like our Warlock that I was saying was in need of some kind of extra ability. So maybe that would be more fitting for a character like the Warlock to give him some kind of a little extra edge, if you will, with his casting abilities. All right, so Summoner, Inflict, can attack until end of turn. I like her just as that. I think is perfect. Goes with the whole Valkyrie warrior theme and the disarming effect. Yeah, I love that. Okay, cool. So that's perfect. We're gonna leave Caitlyn like that, I think, and we can save the mana generation for another character. Okay, so now let's see where we've got. It's 11-12 now. I'm trying to think if there's any other easy win characters we can create really fast. So far today we made Click Click, Rugged Mage, Sibylla, Serpent and Deceiver, the Dork Slayer, and Caitlyn. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new summoners. Actually, I think we'll stop there for today because the next step I want to do is actually add these to the game with our hopefully first successful DLC update. We tried this once before, ran into a bug where the AI would not interpret the DLC download. I've since fixed that in the new version. So I want to get these new card contents into the game, into your hands right now. So we're going to attempt to do that. And the way I'm going to make this DLC is I need to go into the definitions file we've been editing. Okay, local store, and I need to get this defs file. And then I also need to get the manifest file, and I'm going to have to copy those two things. All right, I'm going to make a new folder here for DLC. So I need the definitions, and I'm also going to need to get the manifest. Okay. And then you go into here, DLC, and I need to change this manifest version. So all I'm going to do is say we're going to make a new manifest version for Client 30, that's version 2, and definitions is going to be version 2. Save that. Okay. Now, I need to take these two files, go into my DLC, paste. Okay, and then all I should have to do is upload these to server. So what this will do, the manifest file exists in the server, and essentially when the game loads up, it pings the server and says, hey, any new DLC I can download. And it checks the manifest version that's on the server, compares it to the local, and if there's new content, it downloads it automatically so that the update is completely seamless and happens without you having to do anything during the game. And because our files are so small, it happens so quick that you won't even notice the update's taking place. All right, so now I'm going to go to Dreamweaver here, and we're just going to go ahead and basically upload these two files, and this should automatically post the DLC update to the game. So real quick, we're going to do before and after. I'm going to load up Summoner's Fate here. Notice here it's version 30. Once the manifest definitions load, it goes to 30.1, which is the current version, and launches the game. Okay, so we're going to attempt to push the new content and then see if it goes to version. Oh, and I also forgot to show you that it did not have the summoners in there yet. That's okay. I'm going to go here and push the updates. Transfer. Error occurred. Why did an error occur? Why did that happen? Why did we get an error? File error with one file. Why did it not push the manifest text? That's weird. Let's try again. Yeah, that time it worked. Okay, not sure what happened there. All right, so we've now pushed the assets to the DLC, to the server. So let's go ahead and fire up the game and see if we've got new content. Here we go. Check downloading content. There it is, and it already finished downloading it. And I am now version 30.2. DLC has been successfully applied. Let's see our new content's in there. Hopefully I remember to activate those last summoners. I don't know if I remember to turn on Caitlyn or not. Summoner. Oops. Equals 1. Okay, so there's Sibylla. There's the Serpenta. There's the Dork Slayer. Oh, we forgot to put Kaylin in. Oh no! All right, let's go back and that's okay. We're gonna fix that. With our second DLC update, first off, we need to go ahead and tell it that we want Kaylin inside the game. Units. JK. I thought I may have forgotten her. Kaylin, make her functional. There we go. We get the other ones in there. That was we had 6 planned. 1, 2. Oh, let's make sure Rugged Mage was one of the ones that was also in there. He's functional. Rugged Mage is functional. Working on Dex. Oh, Meltos is already taking advantage of the update. Nice. Okay, so she's not in there. We got everybody else though. All right, so we're gonna make our second DLC update here. Watch how awesome this is gonna be. So I need to go to Application Support. I need to get my definitions, the new definitions, editor, file, copy over the defs, Summoner's Fate, website, DLC, paste this in here, replace that. Okay, now I have to make a new version here, so what we're going to do is do version 3, and we're going to make defs be version 3. Okay, save. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and push this update. Nope. And push. Oh, come on, push that definitions. We need that in there. I should probably push defs before I push manifest. Okay. So now it's both in there. Now we're going to fire up again, and it should detect the new DLC and download it. 30.3, good. Now let's see if I've got Kaylin. Show me Kaylin. It's got to, every time I push a new version, it has to re-raster the cards. So that's what's happening here. It's basically going through the collection and rasterizing them. Okay, so we're going to do Summoner. Yep, okay. There she is. Now she's active. Excellent. So we've got Kaylin now as well. Fantastic. So if I go to my decks here, make a new deck, look at that. There are 6 new summoners to make decks with. How exciting is that? And they are ready for you right now on the stream. I'm going to do a quick test. I'm not going to make anything too complicated here because I just want to verify that the AI successfully battles me without having a problem. So I'm just going to throw random cards in here. I'm going to do this really, really fast. Let's see what else can I do random in here. Just picking random stuff here because I want to just verify that this deck's going to work. Trying to be mindful of our time. This is the fastest made deck ever. Okay. Deck made fast. Okay, and then save that, and then let's back out of here. Okay, so I'm going to go attempt to battle the AI, and hopefully it does not crash like last time. That was the issue we had. Custom decks. Deck made fast. Okay, here we go. Look at that! Click, click, set the campfire. I'm going to attempt to battle the AI here. Make sure that this DLC actually works as we expected. Okay, that's a good sign. I don't know why on earth the AI decided to do that. Let's see if I can beat the AI with my totally random deck. Let's make this Griffin. Make it even more powerful. Alright, so far it looks good. Looks like the AI did not have a sync error. That's the issue we had last time we tried this. I'm kind of excited. This is pretty sweet. Look how easy it is to add new content to the game now. Let's make the Super Griffin. Even more Super Griffin. Let's see what I'm going to put. Oh, block that tonic. Okay, take that tonic. Hey, look at this. My totally random deck is just slaughtering this AI. Who would have thought just by throwing random cards in there, I'd come up with an awesome winning combination for success here. Click gonna kill you. Yeah! Excellent. All right. Success! I really like that impale and pull thing. Yes, I love it too. That's why it had to come back again. I said it was too good of a power for the Gladiator to hold it all to himself. And the best thing is, because he's Celestial, you can actually pick the Gladiator with him. So if I wanted to go in my deck right now and edit that, we could put the Gladiator in there and basically have 2 Gladiators, which is fun. There you go. So now I've got 2 of the attack and hook and pull thing in there. Very fun. Get over here. Yes, indeed. I should just change the description to Far Shot, get over here. And people will be like, what does that even mean? Unless you play Mortal Kombat, you don't know. Excellent. So very exciting. All right, so there you have it. We accomplished our goals for today. First off, we beat our record of 6 cards now made in the stream. Granted, there was some cheating where I made some of them in advance, and some of the powers weren't all that complex to add to them as well. But hey, I'm going to still count it because why not? We got the DLC, first successful DLC updated. Well, we had a little hiccup, and then the first DLC successfully added after we properly added Kaylin back into the mix. So there we go. And this is great too. This update will automatically apply. So whether you're on iOS, Android, Mac, or PC, the next time you fire up the game, you're going to have 6 new summoners waiting for you to customize decks with. How awesome is that? And you saw how fast the update took place. It was like almost imperceivable in that regard. So yeah, I am really excited about this. Now going forward, when we make new cards, assuming I don't have to recompile any code, and we're just adding content, I should be able to distribute them immediately after the stream, as we just did. So no more having to wait for several weeks for me to do the client updates. You can get the new content immediately, which is awesome. Yes, and as M. Zuccarello points out, my favorite part of doing these streams is I love our community's philosophy of community-driven design. I am very appreciative for the excellent ideas that everybody provided here today. And once again, what would have been just kind of okay, cool cards now became awesome cards thanks to your guys' help and support. So thank you once again for being valued members of our community, for participating and sharing such awesome ideas, and for working together here with me on the stream to make Summoner's Fate an even more exceptional game. If you haven't had the chance to play it yet, again, the game is available in pre-release form. You can purchase on our website, summonersfate.com, and join us in the current playtest we have going on. Also, I should do a quick shout out that we just released a new build yesterday, version 30, that adds a host of new gameplay fixes and balance changes. So in addition to designing the game with you and taking your feedback here on the streams, I also gather your feedback on the Discord and our game's in-game bug reporting tool. This is really cool. Check this out. So if you find something in the game you don't like or have a problem with, you can report a bug, and it'll actually record all the telemetry and data at that particular spot. So if it was during a match and something weird happened, you can tell me about it. This also triggers automatically when there's errors found in the game. So it's been immensely helpful for fixing bugs in the game that would otherwise be impossible for me to find alone. So thank you for that. We've also got some great balance changes that took place in the game thanks to your feedback. So, you know, little by little, we're getting closer and closer to getting a absolutely perfected, shining diamond of a product, which I hope will be ready for. We're ready to go to Steam Early Access, the Discord store later this spring, once I've got the single player done. So, yeah. Very excited. Now that I've got this major update done, the balance changes, the ability to do DLC, we'll continue doing card content updates on the daily streams, and then weekly streams. And then I will also be focusing the majority of my development attention now to building the procedurally generated single-player adventures. So if you think it's cool now, doing one-off battles and having fights with other players and the AI, just wait until we combine that with a series of connected adventures where you actually get to battle your deck while you play, encounter different scenarios, have some RPG style interactions, equip your characters. It's going to be so much fun. And so we'll probably show a little bit of that on the stream as well. I know a lot of you guys are excited about procedural algorithms for world creation and stuff like that. So I'll show you a little bit of how we're doing that as well. Yes, excellent. How about a Necro Dancer Summoner or Guardian? Yes, that sounds very cool. True story, says clever name already taken. I'm an error that was found in the game. Yes, that is true. I think his name in the game is login error, and it was hilarious because he couldn't log into the game because the back worker was sending communications, and when the back worker detected the word error in a message, it flagged it as an error. And because his name had the word error in it, it actually bugged out, which is crazy. So yeah, we did fix that. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today's stream. Again, thank you so much for the ideas. I keep notes on all these things for future updates and releases, so nothing ever gets forgotten. And I appreciate, as always, you being here. And we'll be back again next week for another episode of Develop with Ross here on Twitch. And that's it for now. Signing off.